Hello, welcome to New Mess Podcast, episode 110. Today we're talking about types of support heroes, POS 5 heroes specifically, similar to last week's episode, going through the different archetypes of offlane, but today, the archetypes of position 5. Joining me as always, Adam. Marco is in some emergency drama situation where he had to go to hospital or something, but he's okay. But he'll be joining us at some point, and we can ask him about his dramatic evening. But he'll be joining us at some point. Adam, how are you? How you been?
I'm good. What does A&E stand for?
Accident and emergency.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, although I don't think it was. Well, I don't know. Let's save him.
Well, we call it the ER, the emergency room in the US. So right. It was like, I got to go to the A&E. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah. We'll have to check in with him when he arrives. I don't know when that will be. Hopefully at some point.
If he arrives.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, very scary. Very scary. Question, and I suppose this is maybe save the question for the end of the podcast in a shock reversal. Because we're going to be talking about a lot of different POS 5 heroes, and the question is basically the question I was going to ask last week: what hero should new players start with? But maybe we could sort of consider that question as we go for these different heroes, these different archetypes of POS 5. So with that in mind, how have your games been this week? How's Dota been treating you, Adam?
If you look at the win rates with friends, it's not very high. But I guess with the UK friends, it's not very high. But I'm on a nice little streak. I feel like this is a pretty productive week of Dota. A lot of wins.
Nice.
A lot of, the battle pass about to be ending. They better throw these tokens on these games. I feel like I won every one that was just throwing like 300% down on 200%. So it's like, just do it.
Yeah, tips is the other one. I always forget to do my tips. But yeah. Any notable games? Any notable heroes that you're still bashing out? I know you're sort of you're on the TB Naga train for a while. Is there any extra flavour this week? Any heroes you found?
I guess I haven't been able to play those. Bit of a Tusk gamer. Played a couple Liches.
Wow, return.
Love me some Lich, yeah. Tusk. Veno. Won a Ursa game. Where I had to, I was the 1, but I really played it like a 3.
Right.
Yeah. That was a really toxic game, actually. I didn't enjoy that game.
The 3 Ursa?
Yeah, it was like Marco and a few people had already played a game, and then as a 5-stack, and then we switched out some people, so I came in, and they got matched up with the same stack
all right.
as the game before, and they had lost. So then it just devolved into this really toxic, posy, all chat back and forth. And I'm like, I have no part in any of this. I don't know the history of what's happened here, but I don't like it.
Marco loves an all chat altercation.
Yeah, he gets baited so hard. And then, then the pauses happen, and then tipping, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, all sorts of stuff like that. In terms of my games, I did have earlier today one of the saddest games in my Dota career. Pugna, ranked solo, of course, which is good to get back on the ranked solo, but this game goes 67 minutes. I'm playing Pugna mid, and honestly, it feels like one of the best games of Dota I've ever played. I'm mid versus Drow Ranger, and I crushed the Drow, which I should, because Pugna versus Drow is very Pugna favoured. At least I think it is. Making so much space on the other side of the map. We've got an anti-mage on my team, so I'm just making so much space with anti-mage. I'm blowing up heroes in the mid-game. I'm 9-1 in the mid-game, just absolutely loving life, destroying the map. Get the mid-tower super early. Running around with Tranquils and an Aether Lens. Literally, twice in the game I was being chased by all 5 heroes, and just for about 30 seconds and still survived. It's beautiful Dota. Felt like Thompson playing a mid-Pugna, just incredible. Meanwhile, my anti-mage is free farming. My jungle Nature's Prophet, who has 30,000 net worth by the end of the game, is 14 deaths, very painful. My position 3 Pango, 15 deaths, very painful. My anti-mage, 6 deaths, should have been 0 deaths. This guy had the freest game of all time because his dutiful Pugners, getting every hero following him for about 10 minutes in the mid-game. And it was just a generally all-round super, super sad game because I felt like I played really, really well. It felt like one of the best games I've played in a while. But it wasn't to be, and we eventually lost, so I was very sad about that. It's been a while since I've cried on WhatsApp to Marco about the result of a Dota 2 game, but indeed I cried about this one. I messaged him and was like, oh my god, so sad. I just played the best game ever and still lost.
Feels bad.
Yeah, that was very sad. And then I even lost a Viper in Ranked earlier, so I'm on a 2-game slide in Ranked, which is not good at all. My road to Divine is teetering on the edge.
Better win the next one.
I know, I've got to take the next one by storm.
Knowing you, if you don't win the next one, it's going to be like 8 in a row.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Always liable for a fat loss streak when I play ranked, that is for sure. But there you go, that's basically the story of my ranked games. Played a couple of Embers in unranked, very fun hero, of course. But I feel like we just fly straight into today's topic because we've got an awful lot that we could get through. I've basically tentatively split the position 5 heroes into a few different categories. Now, a lot of these heroes don't fit very well, but I've got save 5s that provide a save, defensive 5s, damage 5s, team fight 5s, buff 5s, and Chen 5s. You could say Chen's a buff hero, but it's sort of its own beast. Let's just start from the top with these save 5s. What do you think? I mean, you play a lot of 5, obviously, or certainly when you play ranked. Do you think these heroes that provide a save are like very good versus the other types of 5s, like your Shadow Demon, your Oracle, your Abba, Dazzle maybe as well, Venge, I suppose, with Swap? Which of these heroes, do you think is the best in this category at the moment, and how good saves at the moment in Dota do you think on the 5?
Oh, that's tough.
I mean, you love an Abba 5.
Right, I don't know if that's necessarily good, though, right now. I love that hero. I love... Yeah. These aren't all created the same. Yeah. Not all saves are created equal. I think the best right now would be Oracle and Shadow Demon.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they're ranged. Abba's pretty iffy because his save is really close range. He's melee.
Yeah.
It depends on the lane. You really need to be able to get up in someone's face and hit them with your Curse of Avernus reliably for you to, I think, have a good trade in the lane. Oracle and Shadow Demon, though, those are heroes that do their thing with no gold.
Yeah, definitely. Oracle and Shadow
really
Demon
good from a 5.
Yeah, Oracle and Shadow Demon are the purest save heroes, right? I mean, Oracle save is a hard dispel and obviously keeps them alive and amplifies, all the stuff that Oracle does. He's a pure save, pure defensive support. Although having said that, he obviously does deal out a lot of damage as well with Purifying Flames.
Yeah, he's a good kill stealer.
Yeah, certainly. A good range creep nuker as well. I love it when you just one-shot range creeps. Always feels good. Do you like Dazzle at the moment? Do you count this hero as a save hero? Do you think Dazzle's a good pub kind of hero to pick up, or?
I don't. I think he's good the lower you go in the skill tree, or in the ladder, I guess. I think what's the W called? The heal or the save?
Oh my good word, I can't remember.
Yikes!
Oh my goodness, what's Dazzle's W called? I can't even remember. I can't remember what any of his spells are called. Poison Touch.
Poison Touch. Shadow Wave is the E.
Shadow Wave, yeah.
Bad Juju is the Shallow Grave.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that spell's quite good, but is it necessary? It's a different type of save, right? It like prolongs your carry to do things. It's really good if your carry's farmed, if your carry has satanic or life steal, because otherwise you're just prolonging the inevitable versus like actually saving. And he's easier to like draft around against, I would think. But then I always hate playing against it because it seems like they always have the perfect lineup. No one can ever get to the dazzle because everyone else is around in the way. And then like you're like, oh, you just get impatient. It's fine, and we're going to blow out all of our spells on another hero instead. And then that's when the grave comes up out of nowhere. It's like, I hate this so much.
Yeah. Obviously, they're different heroes. When you look at Shadow Demon, Oracle, and Dazzle, Aber and Venge sort of kind of a separate thing. I mean, Swap is a save, but when you look at a hero like Venge, you don't pick Venge necessarily for the save first, where these other heroes you probably do. Like the biggest part of their kit is the save.
Right, I think Venge is, dare I say, the greediest of all the fives we listed.
Yeah.
It's weird because your spells are really good. You don't necessarily need gold. Like, you can just stand there with your aura and have an effect, pop some waves and do the minus armor thing, but it's like you just scale really well. If you have a Vlad's, or like the more things you have, the better that hero feels. Whereas like an Oracle 5, all he needs is like some boots.
Brown boot stick, windlace,
and some good positioning. Like obviously it gets way better if you have more cast range and you have your
Force or Glimmer or something, but
and your Aetherlands and like all sorts of stuff like that. All these heroes, scale that way, but like Venge, I think maybe Abba's the most dead of these in a lane.
Yeah. Let's then compare saves to, say, damage 5s. You're looking at a hero like Witch Doctor or Lion, Lich, Jakiro. I listed these 4 as 5s that I think of as high damage 5s. I mean, what do you think about playing these heroes in a pub setting? Do you always prefer to see like a save 5 versus like a damage 5, or does it really depend on the rest of the team?
I think so. In the ideal world, you pick the 5 to match your core, but that's not necessarily how draft should work. It should be the other way.
Yeah.
And so then I think in the ideal world, your core has a hero highlighted, so you can at least try and pick something along those lines.
Yeah, that's difficult.
Yeah, so you have your damage 5s. You have Witch Doctor, Lion, Lich, and Jakiro. I think Witch Doctor's a really good 5 for dealing.
He's in so many games. You'll see his pick rate must be super high. Like the blow up potential of Witch Doctor's crazy. I mean, everyone knows it. Everyone's seen Cask into Maledict, into the Death Ward, the Plague Ward, whatever it's called. But that mechanic, and particularly obviously the coconut stun, if you get them off in the right situations, you can fly on a Witch Doctor. You don't think of him as like a snowball 5, because such a thing doesn't really exist, but you definitely see Witch Doctors with crazy damage dealt, crazy kills from Maledict and stuff in games. I think Witch Doctor's a really, really solid hero to pick up in a pub setting, no matter sort of what your MMR. You could climb on Doc, I think.
Yeah, he's got good damage, like from a right click perspective, and pretty much obviously gets a lot easier if your core has a stun or something like that, but you can pretty much be a kill lane with any other one hero.
Yeah,
all you need is it's pretty trivial to land a Cask into a Maledict, and then if the core has any amount of follow up, like even just like a Spectral Dagger or something, especially at level 3, like level 2 Maledict and above, pop heroes pretty quick, and ideally everyone tries to kill you while they have the maledict on them, and your carry gets all the XP. That's the dream.
Yeah, definitely. And also just in the game, once you get your spells off on a 5, it doesn't matter that much if you die. And oftentimes I think in teamfights there'll be a situation where a Witch Doctor uses Cask, Maledict and ult. And the enemy team, they have to kill the Witch Doctor in ult, because it does too much damage.
Yeah, so, you draw all the aggro, that's the other thing.
Exactly, yeah, it's beautiful.
It's totally fine if a Sven has this like ag Stormhammer onto you instead of someone else after you've... And, well, he has Stormhammer Dispel, so it's like you could ideally pop a Ghost Scepter, but...
Yeah.
So you wouldn't die, but it's like, it's totally fine if everyone casts all their abilities on you. You know, the same with the Crystal Maiden. When you pop your ult, if anything, I want them to throw everything on me instead of my core. So I like that about Witch Doctor. It's like a nice channeled spell, just like a giant target. Like, hey, look at me. And then it has the Phoenix Egg effect. Like, if there's any amount of hesitation over whether they're running away or going at you, they take a lot of damage.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you pop your spells, and then you still have the W. Like, then you just kind of waddle around and heal people. And that's pretty underrated.
It's definitely underrated. I think Witch Doctor players oftentimes won't pop W, like Voodoo Restoration, until after a fight. Whereas you slap that thing on in a fight and make it different with a few right clicks, you know?
Yeah.
Just have
definitely
it active.
Want to toggle that while you're channeling your ult so Rubik doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Doesn't get the Death Ward.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good top tip. Witch Doctor top tip. Nick Day, nice day approved. Top tip on Witch Doctor.
I'm so bad at Witch Doctor, like, controlling the ward. I spray and pray and hope, because the way my micro works, I don't think I can tab to the ward. I think I would have to like box the ward and then click it on something. So
can you hotkey the ward?
I think you can. You
have to box it first and then assign it the first time you use it, I guess.
Maybe. I haven't really looked into it.
It's funny how the game remembers your hotkeys when you play hero. So like every time I play Jug, the healing ward is bound to 2. I don't have to bind it at the start of the game. It remembers. And when I play, say like heroes with a Manta style, like when I play Naga Siren, for example, my main hero and my first illusion is automatically binded to 1. My other 2 illusions are automatically binded to 2. And my Manta illusions are automatically binded to 3. And like, it saves it. I never have to change that. Same for Meepo as well, I suppose.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
See, what I do is I box my hero. I box all my illusions. And I've been playing Naga and Terrorblade, and that's what I do. Like, nice. I manually shift. Like, you can shift click, right? You can box everything and shift click things out of the group and like spread them other places. It's kind of like the StarCraft micro method, but yeah, it's hectic for sure.
Yeah, man. APM, next level APM.
It's been like 50 minutes doing that. So I have all my hotkeys on 1 through 6, like item hotkeys.
Really interesting.
It's like I don't have long enough fingers to reach up to the function keys, so
yeah. I use the function keys. I use F2, all other heroes, all other units, like everything other than the hero I use on F2, which is quite good, I think. And F1 I use for Meepo only, which is select everything. I
do have F2 Courier. That is for that. I didn't set that. Valve set that. So then I learned that it was there.
I use a lot of them actually. F6 is by TP scroll, like by sticky
F6.
item, and F5 is by quick buy. So, and F4 is deliver courier.
I can't reach that.
Interesting.
6-11 hands.
Yeah, I mean my hotkeys are so odd. We'd have to do another whole episode on hotkeys. Like my item hotkeys are so weird. I have like D, F, G, and then I have X spacebar 4. So okay. I'm doing some wild items right there. How do you feel about Lion 5.
I hate Lion 5.
It
with a
shows
passion.
up in lower pubs.
It's the most popular 5, I think, by far, because people are like, "Whoa, infinite scaling on my ult, and I have a hex and a Q and impale like all these stuns." It's like it doesn't matter that I get sneezed on and I explode. It's like people just go big damage, and I think Lion 5s on my team are absolutely garbage. And then you play against an enemy Lion 5 and he goes boots first and gets off these god impales and he always gets away with like 1 HP. And then you die to their carry and it feels really bad.
Yeah. Why don't you like the Lion 5? I mean,
I think it's the greediest hero you can pick. I feel like it's the greediest hero you can pick from a 5.
Because it needs the blink dagger to really be effective. Is that why you think it's greedy?
Like the impale does no damage.
Right.
It really doesn't do very much damage. You have to wait till level 6 to really spit out any damage. And then like you're so not survivable. You're just like a feed machine.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a good point, actually, when you say greedy. It's not necessarily about needing gold, although it does kind of need gold a lot more.
You don't farm either. Like,
yeah.
You have nothing. You have to, like, impale camps and then mana drain. And then you have to take damage from the camps while you're draining the mana. You have no health pool. And so now you're, like, at half health. And you probably have to get tranquil boots. I don't know. I really dislike that hero.
Do you just dislike the hero in general, like 5 and just in general anyway?
I think it's good in the late game. I think it's probably one of the best supports in the later stages because you have AoE Hex, you have Blinks.
You have 2 stuns.
The Ags. Ags strong. Potential. Like, he's got really good skill play. Like FY, Lion. He's very skill intensive because you can impale the ground, it travels farther, you can get the big multi-hero ravages and all that stuff. But I don't like it in the laning stage at all. And then the real other sad thing is like level 6, Finger of Death is an amazing, like that's a kill every time on the mid, you know what I mean? Like you go mid and you pop it and so much damage, and then it goes on cooldown for like 3 minutes. It's like a Wraith King ult. So then everyone knows like you don't have to worry about that. So then you become food for another 3 minutes.
I once played a game against a PL as Lion, and this was when the level 20 talent wasn't +2 mana drain multi-target. It was just mana drain in an AoE.
Oh yeah, it's so nice.
So obviously you mana drain. For those of you that don't know, mana drain instantly kills illusions. So you just AoE around the PL, instantly kill all of his illusions. Amazing, easy.
Yeah.
So I played this Lion game, got to level 20, and then I for some reason I just like didn't think properly in my brain, and I took the other talent for some reason, and then like 2 seconds later was like, oh my god, I've literally just single-handedly thrown the game with my talent choice because I'd forgot about the fact that the PL thing. So I was like, oh, don't worry, I'll just get to level 25. Or I didn't actually think that. I didn't think about what my 25 talent was at that point. Game goes longer, I get to 25. I'm considering AoE Hex versus the Earthbite range. I'm like, man, Earthbite range sounds so cool. Let's try that. So then I went against a PL, I went Finger of Death damage per kill and then Earthbite range as Lion. Well, just the single saddest thing ever. But luckily it was a trench pub and none of my teammates realised anyway. So it was fine. All's well that ends well. The Earthbite range is such a meme talent. Talent.
Funny, yeah.
It's so funny clipping a hero from like across the screen. It's just so dumb. Oh, I love it. Looking at some of these other damage 5s then, Lich, Jakiro, these to me, they're not as quite as clear cut as Lion and Witch Doctor, as just like pure damage dealing, strong
I think
bursty heroes. Or
Lich is like a combo 5. I don't know. He like does it all.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of damage, but he's also got a stun now, which is amazing, and then a shield for damage mitigation. So I think he's got offensive and defensive potential.
He's got high team fight damage. He doesn't have that much sort of skirmish. Well, I suppose skirmish you use the ult anyway, but just single target.
I was played it last night against a Monkey King, and I just solo ulted him just for a burst of damage like 3 or 4 times. I didn't care. It didn't bounce one time.
Yeah, I know.
That's a little nuke.
People do that. You see that in pro games, you know? Use it to get a kill, even if it's just a one-off thing. Like, definitely just use it.
It's not that long of a cooldown, and it's 100 seconds. It's nothing at level 6. And then it's 18, it's a 60-second cooldown. It's like, you just throw that on a wave and run away.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Trust me, as a Meepo player, that cooldown is way too low. Way too low. Pump that up a few tens of seconds, I think.
I played Lich last night, and I had a Aether Lens, and then at level 10, you get the 100 cast range talent, and then a telescope. And let me tell you, sinister gazing somebody from a full screen away, nothing more fun. Monkey's like, I pop my ult, and I'm like, I pull you out of your ult from across the map. Like, you run, and, you know, since the longer your cast range is on it, the further they move, right? Because they move 50% of the distance. So if you make it a lot longer, they move even further. This is like a punch hook that's guaranteed. They just run, and if they have a lot of move speed, they like just run quickly to you, like run to their death.
Do you think Lich is good in the meta at the moment? It's not. It's got quite a high pick rate. It always does have quite a high pick rate, 13% in Divine Plus, but 48.5% win rate. So, I mean, do you think it's a sort of meta hero? I don't feel like I see it.
No, I don't know if it's necessarily a meta hero. I just think it's a good hero.
Right, right.
And I don't think anyone would ever be sad that you have a Lich on your team.
No.
Now that he has Sinister Gaze. Like before, you could be like, oh, it's a no stun lineup type of thing. But you have Gaze for breaking TPs and stunning.
And then finally, Jakiro. This is a hero that I trot out when I have to play a POS 5 game, maybe to get some tokens on ranked roll queue or something. This hero, I would say, is also kind of a do-it-all hero. It doesn't really provide any defensive support. It doesn't have a frost shield like Lich. But it has a really long-range stun with Ice Pass, so it's obviously excellent for cancelling things like Black Hole. You use it against Chrono and stuff like that. Macro Power is a very odd spell. I feel like oftentimes you see it just used as D-push, or you see it thrown down along with the Ice Path for just a bit of damage and general sort of area control annoyance in a team fight. And then Q, this laning spell, is just unbelievable. Really strong harass damage to win lanes on the Jakiro.
That's one of the best level ones in the game.
Excellent. Yeah, it's amazing laning spell. And then E obviously helps push towers and helps you farm because it's free. What's the E called again? Can't remember.
Liquid Fire.
Ah, there you are. Yeah.
Dual Breath, Ice Path, Macro Pyre. Yeah.
Dude, that Macro Pyre, bro.
He's got, I don't know if you want to, he's got like good space denial or area control. And then also, so you wouldn't call him defensive, but he does dissuade people from going on you. So I don't know what you would call that. Like Dual Breath is like a anti-aggro spell. Like they start to aggress and you're just like Dual Breath and like, oh, we can't do it. Like we have to turn away. So not necessarily defensive.
He's definitely anti-aggro, because even just Liquid Fire's anti-aggro spell, because it's a debuff on enemies, you know.
Yeah, and plus, so you have this, level 1 spell that is AoE, so you can tag both people with it. It gives like a 28% move slow, attack speed slow, so they can't trade with you. Damage is just cherry on top. And then you're like a 700 HP big dumb like dragon. You're so tanky too. So
yeah,
and you're not like 600 range, but you're ranged as well. So if you die level 1, you're just hugging people or out of position with dual breath.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really, really strong hero. You often see Jakira's finish with really, really high damage dealt in games if they're getting involved into the mid game and still able to cast dual breath and liquid fire and stuff without dying. Because Ice Path is like a late game spell. It's an incredibly good spell, and especially when you reach level 25 and you get an extra full second on the disable. Think about how big Ice Path is as a disable, and it's taking people out of the game for 3.5 seconds on a 9-second cooldown. That's a remarkable place if you can get there. Farms really well. The Q farms very fast. Q and E, like I mentioned, E's free. I think it builds very well. It does very well with items. Obviously, yours is a classic for the setup. I also think Atos can be considered. I saw a Jakiro go Atos the other day, and I thought that was quite funky. Aether Lens is okay, I suppose. You're not going to see that as often as other hit spells. Force Star, obviously. Yeah, Glimmer, Force, your usual stuff. I really rate Jakiro. I would recommend Jakiro for 5. I think it's quite easy as well, because in the lane, I just buy like 6 mangoes and just cast Q forever, and it feels like it's quite hard to lose the lane when you do that.
He's like ogre. Ranged ogre.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I had them in the same category for a while. I had lane-winning 5s, and I had Chikiro and Ogre, and Undying, a friend that will visit soon.
Also, Macropyre breaks trees. Very cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like that's slept on. Because it's not a 60-second cooldown at all levels. So it's like, oh no, they have a mango tree, Macropyre. Oh no, look at that like monkey jumping around, Macropyre.
Yeah, that's a good feeling if you can Macropyre a monkey out of the trees.
Yeah, for a second, just sitting in your...
Oh, so good. Anything that gets monkey out of trees always feels like a god's play, Moving on then, I suppose, let's take a peek at these team fight 5s. I've got Disruptor, Winter Wyvern, Keeper of the Light, and Warlock. Let's start with Warlock, because I think it's quite an interesting one. He's definitely a defensive 5. You think of him as a defensive 5, because in the lane, all he does basically is Shadow Word and then cast Fatal Bonds a bit. And then late game obviously has this rock, this Chaotic Offering Golem drop. Not really a pub-friendly hero, would you say? I personally would be a bit hesitant to recommend Warlock as a hero to play in pubs, simply because I think can have quite a low impact, or it can have lanes where it just gets crushed a bit with the wrong lane partner. How do you see that? Do you think Warlock's a bit better than I'm giving it credit for?
I think it's solid. I don't think it's very fun to play.
Snorlock.
In particular. Yeah, it's like that probably clouds my judgment. I think Shadow Word, Spectre, lane. Not even Warlock Spectre, it's Shadow Word Spectre. That is like nigh unbreakable of a lane
classic,
combo. Yeah.
Classic lane.
He's really good from a counter initiation perspective. It's like, they dove your mid and you TP in and you drop the rock. I don't like dropping the rock as initiation. It's much better as a disruptive type of ability.
100%, yeah.
Fatal Bonds is an amazing spell, but it is so boring. It's like your team fight comes down to drop the rock, Fatal Bonds, tab out. Like channel
upheaval, tab out.
Channel upheaval, tab to your golem.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't. I mean, maybe you could have the Witch Doctor effect where they kill you because you're popping upheaval. It is pretty funny if you get a full channel of upheaval off, because people are basically rooted. to the ground.
Yeah, it is pretty hilarious. Like you say, Chaotic Offering, it's counter initiation and it lasts the whole game because obviously it pierces spell immunity. So even no matter how late the game goes, all the enemies have BKBs, it still doesn't matter. You're still going to be getting a huge AoE disable. And that's just, obviously we know what Chaotic Offering does.
The classic is the Ags Refresher, when you have 4 golems and then you die and you have a 5th golem and you can just like take their whole base.
Yeah, that's so tasty when that happens. Yeah.
But then the other thing is like you're behind, you drop the rock, and then the spin just 2-shots your golem, and you're like, that took 140 seconds to come off cooldown, and he just like destroyed that thing.
Yeah, 170 seconds.
Yeah, man, that is so long. I mean, it's a good spell, but it's like it adds to the boring factor for sure.
Yeah, at least you have a golem with you for 60 of those 170 seconds, unless Sven or like TAs nukes it down super quick.
I guess you could think of it as you drop the rock, and then you can immediately just go start stacking camps for the next 3 minutes. Like that, it's a really good way to give you downtime to focus on your other supporting duties.
That's the thing with Warlock is you're sort of forced to do your other supporting duties because you can't gank. You can't get involved. You actually don't get involved at all other than to use Chaotic Offering, basically. You know, you don't want, as a Warlock team, to be flying around with your Pos 5 Warlock trying to find pickoffs with Shadow Word Fatal Bonds. So, if you have Golem off cooldown, or if a fight isn't happening where you can provide Golem, like a team fight, you are literally warding, running around with a carry, stacking, very supporty stuff. And that's basically your lifestyle on the hero. So that's why it can be boring.
You do have, I think the hero's got a great auto attack animation. Pretty decent damage. And he's surprisingly tanky. Like, he actually has a decent HP pool in the early levels. You think he is less tanky than what he is. I think that's to compensate that he literally doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not as though you have to literally sit behind your carry at all times in the lane. You can, trade a bit with the enemy support depending on what the hero is. Throw out a Shadow Word on them and
you can use Shadow Word offensively. Like, it's so much like less effective as a nuke than as a heal. But sometimes, you do get kills off of it. Like, you throw it on a tusk that's going on your... Okay, so I would not throw it on the enemy if they are diving my carry. I would definitely throw it on my carry. But there are times where you can definitely... Someone's maybe at a 3rd HP and they think they can just sit around in the lane. It's like, no, go home. Or, like, get away. Like, it is good from that perspective.
And hey, 52% win rate in Divine Plus this week, so there you go. Warlock, get the free MMR while you can.
And it's like you throw that on a Death Prophet or on a Spectre, and they have a wand, and they just heal like crazy. It's I've been known to play it. I don't know why. It's like I have this morbid fascination with. Like, I know it's boring, and I know I'm not going to have the greatest time with it, and I'll still pick it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've played a bit of Warlock.
It's relatively strong. I don't know. I don't know why I'm drawn to it. I think I like the idea of the Uber late game with it.
I'm on a 5-win streak with Warlock. Amazing.
It's like Fatal Bond scales infinitely into the late game. Like, it will deal more and more damage the more scaled in HP the other people are.
Yeah, sure.
But, since it is a percentage-based spell, if you ever get a refresher and get double Fatal Bonds, you've won the team fight.
Yeah, definitely. Looking beyond at these other team fight 5s, Disruptor, I think, is a very fun 5, quite a high skill cap, or at least higher than my skill ability. And then Winter Wyvern, Kotl, we know how Marco feels about Winter Wyvern. But looking at these others, which do you think is maybe the more pure team fight 5?
So I haven't seen a Disruptor 5 post GH playing it as a 4. When it got popular as a 4.
Sure.
I guess it got nerfed since then. I haven't really seen it too much. I think Wyvern is amazing. He's here.
Marco, Taco, how are you?
Hello.
Dramatic evening, my word.
Yeah, I've had better evenings.
Well, we're going to cheer you up with some position 5s. You've just managed to skip the 5-minute conversation on Warlock, you'll be glad to hear.
Pog, that's good. Position 5, my best role, as we all know. Smiley face.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we should hit you with a good old Meepo voice line. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. A little bit of pain, bit of frustration, but I'm alive. Don't worry.
I learned the definition of A&E. I didn't realize.
Americans don't have that.
It's emergency room. The ER.
Yeah, that's the Elizabeth Regina, isn't it? Or regalia, something like that.
I don't know. Yeah,
cryptic crosswords.
I feel like we should briefly dip back to the start of the episode to ask you how your games have been this week.
Let me have a look. I think it's been mixed. I think there's been good stuff. Pango train, that's real.
Oh yeah, mid Pango.
Yeah, you got that 212 mid Pango win. That was good.
Followed up by 10-3 Pango win, so
yeah,
it's viable.
100% win rate.
Maybe not 100. I think I'm 2-2 with it in the last kind of couple of weeks of my hype.
I'm all about the Pango. Win.
Yeah, that was a real POG game. So I don't know if the context was shared on that one, how we played the same 5-stack prior and then substituted.
I said that it was very toxic and I didn't want to be in it because it's like I was no part of this. Why am I getting flamed in this game? Like, I just want to play.
Yeah, so there was the backstory, which was why the kind of toxicity existed in the first game. I think they were like, was it pings, question marks? We got kind of slapped, but then 2 racks down, did this big hold. Basically, they were fountain diving and semi through, and we kind of started to come back, but then weren't able to. But I think they were being a bit toxic that game. So then in the second game, where I'm PA, you're Ursa, I was ready to all chat, which is what I did all game.
The keyboard was primed and ready to fly.
Yeah, but I was feeling it. I was like, we're going to win this game mid PA, kind of wonky stuff. Whew. So I felt good to throw the flames all game, the question marks.
We were behind in that game.
I mean, yeah, it was 3-15 in kills or something. I just hear in the side lanes going awfully. I'm just kind of I'm happily getting my CS mid, but these other lanes sound bad. It was against Quab.
PA versus Quab.
That sounds rough for PA.
So I started with a Ring of Regen, which was insane value. And then quite a lot of tangos, 6 tangos, double branch to get the double tango Ring of Regen. So I had a lot of sustain, which was very important. And then using the dagger Q.
Blur. Did you do any blur to dodge the Q?
I got a couple. So yeah, I got a couple of them. Using the dagger for range last hit is very important, and then even just your attack animation is very superior. You've got good armor, so her right clicks didn't really feel that much of an issue. So the laning went really well, honestly. Side lanes didn't, but we held. And
yeah. So here's how this game went. I was Ursa, right, planning to be 1, and they had to pick the Timber. So it was okay, I'll play Ursa against the Timber, and we had Underlord to go against their TB. And they start off with a TB bottom. So okay, lane swap. Let's put the Ursa top against Timber, who's now in their safe lane. And I TP up there. So I missed the first wave. I'm level 1. The Timber gets level 2. And Dynamic Tiny, who's been up there getting the experience, skills tree grab level 1 to kill the courier, so then we have no kill potential, and then I die to the Timber. he gets level 3 and I'm still level 1 as Ursa, and I've used my TP to go from bottom to top already. So I have to walk back level 1 against Timber's like, okay, this game is over, boys. I'm level 3 or I'm a 3 Ursa now officially. That's what basically. And I went straight Abyssal Blade. It's like I will just be an initiator.
Nice.
That was useful. The tiny tree toss point, definitely a lot of flame to go to that. Possible tiny with just 001. It's like, oh gosh.
But then he did tiny things later.
Yeah, credit to Dynamic. He did a good tiny game eventually. The enemy team, it's one of those again.
They just threw.
Yeah, they semi threw. They weren't really far ahead, but they played very obnoxiously and aggressive, more so than they should have, and we punished them.
And then once we punished it once, they never did it ever. Like, they never won a fight ever again. Every time they tried to do it, we kept winning.
Yes. So they would dive in big time. Barra, Earth Spirit, Timber just flying at us like at towers in between tier 1, tier 2, just madness. And we were getting slapped, but eventually, so I got a 15-minute Dezo. There was a fight like not that long after the Dezo pickup. Big turning point. We get like 3 or 4 kills near the mid tier 1 and transition into Rosh, and that's a big swing. And eventually, we kind of become too strong.
It's just one of those things where, like, enemy team loses a fight, and the Terror Blade is like, well, okay, I'm still able to farm kind of aware that fight happened. It's like, no, now we just go kill the Terror Blade while everyone else is dead, and then someone else TPs in, and we just kill that person, and then we gotta... they never really had a full team the rest of the game. It's just like someone was always leaking. And then we're just like, how are we ever behind in this game?
Yeah, so good when those leaks happen and you just run at a hero, get the one trying to save that hero, get the one trying to, what do they call it? Save a buddy syndrome. That's like what they call it. Some of the talent. That's
interesting.
Let's pivot back to where Marco joined us. We were about to talk about team fight 5s. We just talked about Warlock, and that left us with Disruptor, Kotal, and Winter Wyvern. We've already talked about high damage 5s, which Dr. Lion, Lich to Kiro. We've also talked about 5s that provide a save, like Oracle, Abba, Dazzle, Venge, Shadow Demon, and then these team fighters like Disruptor. Marco, I guess I'd go to you. I mean, how do you feel about playing team fight 5s in pubs? Do you think it's always a strong route to go down when you're picking, to just think, I'm going to pick Will-O-Wisp, I'm going to pick Winter's Curse, I'm going to pick Static Storm on my 5, and it's going to be good because I'm going to be providing team fight?
Winter Wyvern, slap that hero in the damage 5s as well. Come on. No respect. Well,
I understood you could throw that in the save 5 as well. That's why it's like the combo 5. It's like that hero, I feel like, enrages me to play against more than most, because you want to go on a hero and then they get embraced, and then you want to go do something else and then you get cursed, and then you want to go do something else and you get slowed by the other 2 spells, and like I can't play the game. And then by that time the second embrace is back up.
I would say it enrages me more playing with Winter Wyvern, to be honest with you.
Really?
At my level, like, the curses are just like, woo, okay, Sven's just stormhammered in, used God Strength. And then there's an enemy hero next to the hero we're going on, so that's like Wyvern's brain just goes 2 heroes next to each other, curse, let's go. And then we're like, woo, okay, now we lose. So Wyvern's a scary hero for me. But,
you could add Silencer as a team fight 5. That's one big ultimate.
You got Phoenix too. Like, Phoenix is another one.
Phoenix is another one.
Phoenix 5 is like the fly special.
I was going to say fly.
That's true. It is the fly special, yeah.
Bane is a 5, by the way, that needs to find it.
Oh, goodness me, yeah.
Maybe he's just in S tier, like, does everything. He does save, defensive damage, does team fight because he can control 2 heroes. Yeah, maybe Bane's his own platform.
Combo 5. Yeah,
Bane's a very interesting one, yeah.
All around.
But yeah, for these team fight boys, Disruptor, let's say Wyvern, Kotal, big Will-O-Wisp, Warlock, big Golem. So Disruptor, I think, the best one out of all of them, because the team fight of an AoE silence is insane, but then Disruptor the casual catch, the casual lockdown of kinetic field. I mean, I love this hero, and I feel like it can get work done all the time. It's not reliant on just a big ult like traditional teamfight heroes are. Whereas, say, Kotl, Warlock, big, powerful ultimates, but in pubs,
don't you think it's a bit
I don't
greedier? Like it's a bit on the greedier side, though, Disruptor?
As a 5?
Yeah, as a 5.
No, I think it's fine. I don't know why it would be greedy as a 5.
I think you use it because of the Q. It doesn't seem too greedy. Like the laning's okay. Right. It's not the strongest laner, but like at least you have the Q. It
uses gold so well is the thing.
It does, yeah. It's a good point that I think is laning you could critique, because I don't want someone to have lots of levels in Q, even though it's one of the most efficient damage spells there is, but I just don't think you can forego glimpse levels. So you could say weak laner, so in that sense a bit greedy.
Post 6 he's amazing.
But post 6 gets work done all the time, and then big team fight potential as well. I think with someone like Kotl Wall who have big ults, I don't think pubs can. I don't think it's enough for pubs, because we're basically then just saying you're being picked because you've got one big spell that you can use like every 2 minutes, and when you do use it, who's to say it's going to even be like amazing? Whereas other 5s like Jakiro, Disruptor, Bane, any other 5 basically who has spells on the go, you're at least going to get something from them throughout the game rather than like a question mark ultimate.
I don't think the rest of Kotl's kit justifies you just blindly picking that every game as your hero that you're going to support with. It's like you need somebody that wants the mana, or you want to be able to, I don't even know what the W is called, to like not disarm, but like, give
the blinding
the enemy
light.
Blinding light, give them a mischance. And you don't really put levels in the queue anymore, so Will-O-Wisp doesn't really do damage. You need to
At least you have the farm. You can farm on a Kotl with the Q spell, with the Illuminate, which is quite nice. I actually think I rate Kotl a bit higher than the population. I think you mentioned the ultimate spell that it has, Will-O-Wisp. It's easier to get a decent Will-O-Wisp than I would say it's
so big.
Because it's so big, it's easy to get that right versus, say, Fiend's Grip. I know the rest of Bane's kit is better than the rest of Kotl's kit, definitely. But at least you can farm on a Kotl, which you can't do on a Bane, and at least I think it's got hard to get Will-O-Wisp wrong. There's just, here's a big fight that's happening, use spell in AoE. Whereas Bane, you want to Fiend's Grip the right hero, but you might just die instantly. You might die trying to get in position to Fiend's Grip and just like odd stuff like that. I think he's the weak laning though is a point for Kotl, but go on.
I think the synergy point that Adam said is its biggest weakness for Kotl. So like blindly picking it first won't always be value, because say his ult, I think you need some synergy to get real big value out of it. Don't like you get you use it, but then someone else brings a bit of AoE control, and then you get the second Will-O-Wisp tick, etc. So a bit of synergy, and then like you say with the chakra, you need synergy with that. Whereas say a Bane, you blind pick it, and it doesn't need to synergize. It will always be omega value.
Now, if you have a spin on if you lane with a spin or a bristleback, Kotl's great.
Yeah, the Kotl bristle, it's a classic.
It is quite good because you also bring people together with your Will-O-Wisp.
And a stun worked with it.
Yeah.
Buff 5s then, heroes that sort of provide a buff, and these are sort of tentative because these are very different heroes, and also some of the buffs are more obvious than others. You look at a hero like Ogre, and you could say this is a hero that's really strong in lane, very tanky in the lane, buffs a hero up with Bloodlust and provides a stun. That's pretty much like what Ogre does. Compared to a hero like Crystal Maiden, and the buff comes in the form of the Arcane Aura, which gives mana. Very different kind of spell to Bloodlust in terms of what it gives the team and the kind of heroes you want around that. So it's interesting to consider these buff 5s. Looking at the list then, Crystal Maiden, Ogre that I already mentioned, Venge, the Aura, again, kind of a questionable one. And then Wisp, a very obvious one, right? This hero's whole kit basically buffs. That's why you see it with ogres and your sorry, that's why you see it with your gyros, Luna, gyro, Sven. Yeah. How do you feel about these in a pub? I feel like it's very different for each hero on the list when you consider it in a pub setting, in terms of whether I give it the thumbs up or the thumbs down. CM maybe to start with, because it's by far the most picked of these heroes.
Ogre must have a
that's
comparable
true, actually,
pick, right?
Yeah, Ogre. Let's have a look. Certainly in high MMR games, the Ogre will be higher.
I feel like it's got that impression of a noob-friendly hero, the Ogre Mage.
Which one? Yeah,
I mean, and the CM, both of them.
Right, that's what I was asking, because they're both like... I feel like...
Wow, Ogre crushes it, my word.
I hesitate to say it because, CM's my lady. Like, I love her so much. She's one of my top 2 heroes, but I feel like the Arcane Aura is just falling off. It's just not as good as it used to be. It's not as felt, with mana pots and
I was thinking that,
raindrops and just bottle charges and neutral items, and it's just like, I don't know, it's like everybody's not hurting for mana like they used to. And they got rid of the magic resist on it until level 15. Like it used to give a magic resist aura. So it's just kind of a...
I agree. I agree that the Arcane Aura is not as good, but...
It feels nice, but it's not like game-breaking.
Yeah. It feels nice. First thing to say is that, look, I'm a very blind mid player, so I just play Lina and Pugna and see Arcane Aura and think, oh my god, CM's the best 5 in the game. So I'm obviously mega biased. What I would say also is Arcane Aura is a bit worse, but also Regen's worse at this stage of the game, in this patch as well. A while ago, you'd see people buy loads of Clarities and Mangos and Tangos and Sals and stuff, whereas you don't... That's sort of been falling off. I think I saw someone talking about it at the tournament that's going on at the moment. I can't remember the name of. But they were pointing out that heroes used to buy loads of regen in lanes, and at the moment the pros are experimenting with like not buying any, which sounds really odd, but they will start with their initial set of Tangos and a Salve and a Clarity, and then they just don't buy anything for the rest of the game because they want to try and get their items out, and they were suggesting that that's because regen's been nerfed a lot recently, so just something that like pros are obviously thinking about at the moment. I don't know if that makes CM better, probably not, but it is something to think about. I mean, Arcane Aura is an interesting buff when you compare it to, Clarities and stuff like that, and heroes' options to have mana replenishment.
Yeah, indirect buff to CM.
Kind of in a way.
I agree that it does feel like not as powerful a kit or a spell. I feel like in the past, CM used to be seen way more as this mana merchant. But like you said, I would still place good value on it, and I think it can easily go unnoticed how valuable it is. Like I was playing...
it's hard to quantify.
It's hard, but I do think...
It definitely goes unnoticed.
It goes really unnoticed, but I do think it is really value and... unappreciated. Playing that PA game that we mentioned, if I play PA and don't go Battle Fury, I know that I often will run out of mana just by using your Q and Blink. You will run out of mana, but I never had that issue in our last game, and then it's like you get a lot more farm out of that, more fight potential out of that. It's hard to realize.
What's funny is, since I play that hero so much, anytime when I'm a mid or like in the other lane and the CM's on my team, I don't notice the aura until like 20 minutes in the game. I'm like, it was like, oh, we have a crystal mid on our team. Like, I wonder how much that changed
your spell usage.
My spell usage is like, because all I know is like it feels nice. That's all I know is like I have mana. It feels nice, but I wonder how much in the lane like I got 1 extra spell usage or 2 extra spells before. It's like
I definitely feel it. I feel it like Marco in the sense that when I'm playing a hero like Pugna or Lina mid, I will genuinely just intuitively feel like my mana's lower than it actually is. because I've played a lot of Lena or Pugna, so I sort of have an idea in my head of, I've like used these combos, like, wow, my mana's like higher than it should be, like, and then I see the CM buff, and I'm like, wow, that's so nice, like, that's such a good feeling.
It's even better on the dummy heroes like Troll and PA, because those are the ones that they don't get mana regen, and then you just, at level 1, you throw out half a regen, like half a mana regen on them. It's like, oh my god, it's like, I'm so strong now, I can spam my dagger or my whirling axes, like
like a Mars comes to my head, a hero,
or Undying, or like just heroes that get, or a Tiny with Arcane Aura is very scary.
Yeah, so I do think it deserves a lot of credit still, even though it has, I think, been buffed a little bit over time. But then I would also stress the rest of TM's kit is really good. A root against certain heroes is amazing. What's it called? Crystal Nova, the Q, that AoE slow, just a value point in that is immense for laning, for kill potential. So CM is a really strong 5, and you're never going to be upset. Or I wouldn't be upset seeing that first picked.
You do have an ult spell that I think is quite hard to use, though, on CM. It's rare that you see like a crushing good ult.
But when it happens. It's like what we said earlier about Witch Doctor. It's like, it's the magnet, so I don't care to pop it and become the magnet and get stunned out of it. You're probably not going to get killed in it because you get 20 bonus armor now, and your attack slowing 60 and 30% movement slow. So it's like quite good from that standpoint. It feels so good to outplay someone as a Crystal Maiden. Just like to be low and the carry runs up to you and you frostbite, root them to where they also are disarmed, and you just channel the ult in their face and they die. And you drop your snowman taunt and then you waddle away.
Yeah.
I think with CM, so say in comparison to Avenge or an Ogre, these other buff 5s, I think CM's floor is quite a lot higher, but her ceiling isn't as high. So I think with Avenger and an Ogre, you can do less impact quite easily, like just having a crappy game. Yes. But Avenger and Ogre can achieve potentially more impact than a CM because of the nature of the buffs, like, and the swap factor, say, on Venge.
And also, Crystal Maiden, I think, peaks earlier.
Yes, it shouldn't scale late game like Avenge.
Ogre. Christmas Land, Blink, BKB, like Ags, of course. That is very scary, but no Crystal Maiden does that. So, or should get to that level. It's like you are a first 20 minutes support, and after that, anything you provide the team is like bonus.
Yeah, and you also just what makes these heroes the buffs. What we're talking about, those aura spells, like so in CM's case, the mana regen aura completely drops off late game, but say the Venge aura of attack range and whatever else is amazing. And for Ogre, the Bloodlust attack speed plus talent is insane. So in those aspects, they are better later game scaling.
Yeah, Venge is 125 bonus attack range and then 13 primary attribute. And then also just you get the second life. Like all the auras you're carrying persist after you die. Like that's so strong.
Yeah, definitely. Ogre's Bloodlust is incredible spell. Yeah, I totally agree with what Mark just said.
When you get the talent on it.
Oh yeah, it's so good. Ogre's just so fun.
How many times have we dived tier 4s into Bloodlusted towers and just everyone dies? Like that is such just making tower pushes almost impossible with Glyph. It's so ridiculous.
Looking elsewhere then, 2 heroes we haven't mentioned. I mean, Bane I somehow forgot to list here, but we did talk about Bane for a while, or at least name-checked him. Wisp and Chen, these are sort of special heroes. Wisp's definitely a buff 5. Chen kind of a buff 5, like a push 5.
Do you want to put Enchantress in there too?
Is Encha 5?
She is right now, I think.
Yeah, because the 3 is just not a thing anymore. I
guess.
If
you want to put it with the, like, I control heroes 5, or control creeps 5, like that's...
Yeah,
they're all healing 5s.
Healing 5s, I like it. Yeah,
healing 5s. Yeah.
Wisp in a pub setting is so weird to talk about because it's such a special case hero, and you can't just pick it up. It's still sort of a speciality hero. But if we assume a base level of competence on IO, can this hero work in pubs? I mean, to an extent, I suppose, yes. It's always going to be underpowered, though, simply because in pros, IO is one of the best heroes in Dota. It has been forever. And so, therefore, in a pub setting, it's going to be underpowered because it's balanced around the pro scene. But it still can work. How do you guys feel about Wisp in pubs? Do you sort of shudder when you see it come out, or are you quite happy to see
Big
like
shudder.
a Wisp
shudder? I would play it and win games with it off the back of Tether and Overcharge. Almost never using Relocate, except for the defensive save, but never to gank, which was what makes it so good.
Yeah.
It's like in a team setting, somebody on the other side of the map would be like, "Hey, relocate down here. I'm about to stun this guy." Like that is one of the best things in Dota. But in a pub, it feels impossible to coordinate. Because without fail, you tether somebody and relocate, and they walk away and break your tether, and you TP. Like you go in and you just are alone. Feels bad.
She's a mad hero when you say, "Oh, let's assume some base level of competency," but it's like you need to play hundreds of games to even reach that level. I think the hero's so difficult, and you look at her win rates across the board. It goes from 45 to 50.7. From low to then Divine Plus. And it's like, if you're an IO picker in Divine Immortal games, you're probably quite a serious IO player, and you'd expect therefore pretty competent, but still, it's this 50% win rate hero at the sweatiest kind of pub. So,
yeah. And we've said this before, it's even if you are a competent Wisp player with hundreds of games, I feel like to really realise the hero, you need to be playing with someone that's hundreds of games with IO.
Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, it relies so much on your teammates also understanding what the hero does. So that's why it's always, an uphill battle when you play it in low MMR pubs.
And then there's always the possibility that you pick IO and the enemy team picks Witch Doctor or Wyvern, and you just TP in and you get either immediately winner's cursed, or you get just coconutted into oblivion. Like it's
tough out there for the IO players, the pub IO players. Chen, though, I think is easier, definitely, which is funny.
Wow, what a world we live in when we say Chen is easier than a hero.
Didn't you do a stint of Chen, Adam? Didn't you do Chen for a while?
Yeah, 3 Chen.
Oh, 3 Chen. Okay, fair enough. I should have known it wasn't going to be that simple. Chen's sort of like a push hero. You get a bunch of stuff and you go with like Medallion or like Mech or something. He's easier to win because you just push really, really hard, I feel like.
Divine Favor, heal increases, rush a Mech, get a sub 10-minute Mech with no boots. That was what it used to be. I don't know if that's the way now. The spells are very good though.
Chen's win rate in Divine and Immortal is 58.5 this week. 2.6% pick rate. That's really, really high win rate, but then it collapses in other pub settings.
You look at the win rate this week, it's 46% overall.
Oh, is it? It's just dragged down by all the scrubby tiers.
12% higher in Divine. That's pretty funny.
It shows how specialist it is, and I don't think it's also not. Well, I guess you could pick every game, but you do rely on your team picking sensible heroes as well. Because like you say, it's just this pusher, healer, stomper. So you pick, what is it, like your Beastmaster or your tempo heroes that want to just go at 10 when you pick up that mech.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's an aura machine. You get mech, you get 4, you get level 7, you've got 4 points in your Holy Persuasion probably at that point, and then you fly in with 4 creeps, all with an aura, some with actives, you've got mech, you've got Vlad's, Hand of God's been buffed so much. It's 250 heal at 10 minutes on all your heroes. I mean, or like 12 minutes, say. That's very good. Like it's still very good.
A lot of lineups cannot answer it.
Well, it's 250 heal, but then you also have heal increase, so it's more. Because you have Divine Favor. Divine Favor buffs your healing. So I guess it's not. I mean, it's closer to like 300, 275 or so. I don't know. It's good.
And then
it's like Divine Favor. You just sitting in lane, and your tangos are like so much better. Like it's just so amazing. 100%. Your tangos, your rings of regen is like, oh my god, they have, and you're under tower. It's like they have 11 regen and they're just standing there, like nothing's happening. Why is this the case?
Also, looking at the win rate, we mentioned 58.5% win rate this week in Divine Plus. I think it's safe to assume, based on how quickly that falls off, so it goes from that to just flat 50% at Ancient. It's safe to assume that in Divine, the win rate's probably about 57%. And in Immortal, it's probably 60%, which shows, in Immortal games, when there's a Chen on the team, the people in those games are thinking, right, this is a Chen game with Chen. They're not thinking, oh, our position 5's Chen. They're like, this is a Chen game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it goes back to the point you made about IO, that familiarity with playing with the IO, or the familiarity playing with the Chen and understanding how that hero wants to play the game is definitely going to get more understood up the ranks, and is a really important factor. Whereas other heroes, it's like, what a basic CM wants to do, say.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a good point.
And then, finally sort of come back to the question that I postponed at the start of the episode, which is, what hero to start out with as a new player. Looking through all these 5s then that we have on the list, what would you flag as like a good place to start for a new player?
They have to be a POS 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
If they wanted it to be a POS 5, yeah. So it depends on what kind of gameplay they want. But
I think I got an idea.
I would say Hero, Ogre, or Lich. Probably be my 3.
I was gonna say Jakiro, so Snap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Jakiro. He's gone, Marco.
So I don't like Ogre because I think it encourages too much of a brain dead gameplay. So you'll pick it and your friend will tell you, "Oh, you're so strong. Just right click the enemy hero," and that's all you'll do. And you'll maybe use your W on the enemy hero, and that's it. You don't actually learn any kind of gameplay. You don't learn how to click spells or when to use spells or when to do anything. You're just a mindless idiot just following an enemy hero. Whereas someone like Jakiro, you've got actually spells to think of, actually how to use the spell. Ranged like positioning is a bit more important because you're not a meathead.
See, I would be worried that a new player would not take advantage of Ogre's tankiness and be afraid, and they would stay behind the wave and not like use the tankiness to their advantage. So I could see that being I just think some people might like to see really big damage numbers, and that's what Ogre can do. Big, fun 4x lotto gaming.
I definitely have problems with Ogre for new heroes, for new players, for 2 reasons.
No skill shots though.
That is true.
All skill shots. So
that is true. Well, that's maybe a plus because I think skill shots are fun for new players. Also, I think Ogre's bad for new players because it's quite a unique hero when you look at down the line here. It's really tanky, really high armor, high regen. It's not like other heroes, so if you get used to playing that as a new player, it's just an odd thing to use armor and high regen and tankiness. Also, I think new players aren't gonna properly use or appreciate or learn around the Bloodlust spell, and the Bloodlust spell is maybe the best spell as the game progresses.
Bloodlust doesn't do damage. Why would anyone want to skill that?
Well, exactly. New players are going to be like, I don't know, really get it that much.
Well, I'm glad we all decided that Lich is the pick then.
Oh god, Lich is the hero that I played when I started, and I don't recommend that.
That's what I did. I played like 60 games in a row of Lich before I tried another hero.
I actually, to go a slightly different hero route, I actually think Dazzle's fine to start with. I think Dazzle's a fun hero. You have a pretty good right click, decent range. You know, you can run around right-clicking heroes at the start. You have a Q that's very easy to understand. It slows them and it does damage over time. You use it and you run at a hero. It's intuitive, right? You use an offensive spell and you run and you keep right-clicking. That's what you're meant to do, and that's what a new player is going to feel like they want to do. You have an E that's really easy to understand. Sure, you're not going to be getting huge heal bombs, but just it heals your heroes. You use them to heal HP.
Right.
And you have a W that prevents a hero from dying. I just think Dazzle's like absolutely fine, and it feels really cool, I think, for a new player when you first play Dazzle and you're like saving heroes with the shallow grave and stuff. I just think it's like a cool feeling.
You mean when you self-cast?
Yeah, when you self-cast.
You just walk next. Yeah, I've done that. Everyone's done that.
Yeah.
To tangent the point about what hero they should play, I think for a new player, the most beneficial role to play would be either mid or carry, as opposed to, I think a lot of people go, yeah, you're new, go play 5. But I actually think you would learn more about the game by playing a core. So if you're, say, a 2, you'll learn to use spells, you'll learn then like to farm creeps and to get gold, and you learn to use items, and yeah, you'll be more active spellcaster with more influence. And I feel like that will teach you more than being, say, a 5 that is relevant for 10 minutes and then becomes just a walking creep. Or you play the 1 and learn the absolute necessity of hitting creeps, last hitting creeps, and then like seeing how that power evolves. And yeah, I think that'll teach you more. I think that'll teach you more because also, if you think, who's a good POS 5, all the best POS 5s have played POS 1 because they understand how to support and how the carry wants and needs to play. It's not like, oh, I'm a good POS 1 because I played support. Like the skills don't transfer that way. I do think you get way more transferable skills, or not skills, well, actually skills and knowledge by playing the core roles.
I do think I agree with the fact that 1 is
a
good role, I think.
Every Marco advice comes back to casting spells and hitting creeps. We should have known it was position 2 and 1.
How to play POS 5, hit creeps, as POS 1.
But
I didn't know that is Dota in a nutshell, those hitting creeps and casting spells.
That is in a nutshell, and who's going to do that the most, POS 1, POS 2. And people always do say, what is the hardest role to play? And what we've said POS 4, but a few years back, it was the POS 5 that really got a lot of attention for being the hardest role to understand and execute. And so I don't see any reason why a new player should be trying to learn that very, I think, specialist, deep role.
I don't necessarily disagree. I just think that classically they've been told to play 5, and if they're playing with a stack, they get thrown on the 5. And it's
that's the issue. Yeah,
well, the reason
relatively
is
lower stakes for you to learn the game.
Yes, the floor's higher and the ceiling's lower for a new player playing 5, but it's not the best thing for their development. I agree with that.
We just want the CM or so play 5, but in terms of your development, I don't think that's going to help.
Yeah. I think 3 is fine for a new player as well, actually. Because you're hitting creeps, and oftentimes 3s have in their kits, like, I think Tidehunter's a great hero to play. If you're new to the game, that's actually the first Dota game I ever played. I played Tide. I had literally no idea what I was doing, because it was a random game I played at Marco's house.
Ravage.
Yeah, just
Ravage
like use
goes
Ravage
across all language barriers.
Yeah.
You know what? I think replace Ogre and say Witch Doctor. Witch Doctor is pretty straightforward for a person to figure out. And, like, big fight, ult. Fun to do.
Yeah. Maybe.
Cask and Maledict, you could explain that to anybody.
Could you?
You really think it's that much more complicated than, like...
Lich.
I don't think it's any more complicated than Ogre or Lich.
Cask is more complicated.
You have no control of it. It bounces.
No, but you can control when you use it, and you wait for the right time and position of the enemy versus the one creep to then get the optimal.
Sure. But then also, you just channel Death Ward. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I do think a lot of these heroes in Dota are more accessible than you think. Like, you wouldn't tell a new player to play Timber, but it's actually not that bad if they did. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can play these heroes. Like, it is kind of fine. There's only some heroes here that I would say definitely steer clear of if you're a new player.
But now that we made all those suggestions, I can guarantee you what a new player would pick as their 5.
Lion.
Lion. Yeah.
Lion.
That's without fail.
Yeah.
That is exactly what everyone, that's what they pick.
Join us again next week. We'll be back, episode 111, the triple. And until then, have a final whistle.